Hey everybody, welcome to TV Chef Fantasy League, the podcast whose hosts also really want to dropkick an overcooked steak. I'm your host and commissioner, Mike Hablon, coming to you live from a castle in Scotland via Zoom. Today are my co-hosts here, Hato and Ifi Wadiwe. Guys, what's going on in America? What am I missing? Tell me everything.
Oh man, I mean, you missed quite a bit, I will say. I'll have you know, regarding the president, it seems like he loves
Okay.
Hulk Hogan more than his actual sons.
Oh.
I think nothing
Oh.
of note else happened
Oh,
with the president.
RNC.
Yeah. Yeah, have you checked out of that completely, Sierra?
I I saw that Hulk Hogan was there. I was mainly shocked. Who was it? Was it Amber Rose spoke?
Mm.
This was a couple
Mhm.
days ago, so
Oh yeah.
that's a little dated. But it's a surprising media event that keeps on giving.
Okay, great. Thanks for the update. Iffy, just because as a food podcast, I gotta ask, what are you eating currently? Because
Oh yeah.
you're really tucking into a whole ass meal there.
Yeah, I have a quarter chicken, peas, and mac and cheese. Little meal prep
Ooh.
I had. I've been on set all day. Took a bunch of pratfalls. Doing
Oh,
yeah. I'm in a horror anthology that my friend Bria Grant, who is also on the Max Fun Network, wrote
Hey.
with Ed Doherty, and they're doing like a podcast to go and coincide with the journey of making it. So it's been fun.
Oh.
It's been, solid kind of getting out there and, acting all day. But also it is, I think sometimes it's easy to forget just how much, I want to say how time consuming acting can be, but, because it's our careers, but it
well,
is like,
it's how time consuming all of production can be. It's just like it.
yes,
People
that's
don't.
the,
I
mhm.
think if you've never made television, it's hard to wrap your head around how long it takes to shoot just like 1 second of footage.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're kind of going through it, and I was just charged up to chop it up with y'all, but also just munch up. And I'm doing real good, which this is also a kind of insider b-ball thing that I think Mike and Sierra knows. I'm trying to keep fit, looking good, and
Mm-hmm.
Crafty has
Mm-hmm.
not gotten the best of me. They,
Oh
they
no.
added some protein bars, and they did something that I think I know some actors are going to yell at me, some actors who can keep off the weight much better than me, but they've gotten like a shit ton of liquid death. And so I've
Oh.
just been drinking that instead of soda all day, and it's been great.
Okay.
There has been a request from actors for actual soda, so they've added that. But liquid death for me, I was like, oh yeah, once I get into the habit of just pounding a bunch of water, then I get into
Yeah.
that flow. But the moment I just pick up one Coke, it's a wrap. I'm not grabbing
Oh
a
Done.
boy.
single
Are you doing the
Yeah.
H.
carbonated?
Oh, yeah. I've been. They have the whole suite, so they have the flavors. They have the
Oh.
carbonated, and then they have the spark, the natural, like the still water. So I've just been bouncing between all three of them, and the variety makes my brain do the thing of being like, yeah, you are having different things. You have no you don't desire sugar.
Wow. Okay. Well, we should talk to our ad team about getting Liquid Death to sponsor our show. I'll get on that. I want to
Look,
give a
look.
shout out to. Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I'm flexing. There it is. All right, it looks
Well,
good.
there it is.
Looks good.
Nice. Okay. Solid. I want to give a shout out to Daniela, Rebecca, and Jeet, all three of whom started following us on Instagram this week. So I hope they're listening.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. Also, I followed up on Rebecca because she's on my team, so I gotta show her some love. She has a blog and is now writing like her personal insight after the episode publishes. So it's just reading her blog
Ooh.
post for this episode. It turns out she burned her hand in the middle of this challenge, like got a blister, medic had to come over, didn't make the edit at all.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
behind the scenes. That's interesting. Maybe that.
Meanwhile, some of these high tier chefs make a big stink about it because they got a little minor baby cut. And then we have to make a whole. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We love you. Don't Another side update is that Scott got in touch and said he is willing to do like voice notes on the different if we want a voice
Yes.
note of the whole story, and
Hell
if
yeah.
so, I'll send it over to super producer Val, and we'll listen to it together and comment on it. So we're getting more updates on the behind the scenes process. Thank you, Scott. Officially
I love
now
that.
That
Yeah.
friend
sounds
of the
great.
pod.
Let's make it like a recurring bit where you have like Scott's Corner and we just check in on like what the audition was. Actually, I'll open that up for anyone who's listening who has auditioned for
Ooh.
MasterChef. If
Yeah.
you want to send us a voice note via email, chef@maximumfun.org, and I'll put it on the show. I don't care. We'll do
Yeah,
it.
I didn't even know we had an email.
We have an email. You can email
Hey,
us at
nice.
chef@maximumfun.org. And if you want to support the show, you can also go to maximumfun.org/join. That is to support the show. Let's dive in with our initial reactions. Iffy, let's start with you. How are you feeling on this episode?
You know, I lots of different feelings. I will say, real happy that we got to one of the points that we knew we were going to get to, which is a protein being punted. So I was real hyped for that. Yeah, I think this is where we really leaned into the generations aspect of the show. I think there was a lot of generational jabs, I'll say. And if you're typing that out, make sure you put G in jabs, generational jabs. And now I think it only amps up from here.
Great. Okay, Sierra, initial reactions hit me.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was feeling like some Top Chef vibes with the fact that they had the event, had it surrounding the sporting stadium, as they call it, BMO Stadium. I was worried because I'm like, man, you take amateur chefs, it's already hard to cook one good meal, and then they got to do 100 or whatever. Like, we'll see how this goes, but they did a good job of really amping up the drama. That's interesting to know that Rebecka burnt her hand too, because it's like, yeah, that wouldn't fit in the narrative they're trying to do, where she was like maybe a little bit more villainous. But I think, yeah, it was actually, I think I like the change of scenery a lot.
Got some cut
Yeah,
accusations already. Cut accusations.
So speaking to her villainous edit for this episode in Rebecca's blog, she said that she wanted to be team captain, which I think is a little bit of why she was asserting herself so much, because once Anna was like, I am team captain, she was like, well, okay, we'll see how you do, kiddo. You know what I mean?
Definitely. It was giving vibes of like an office situation where the manager is like younger than someone else, and they're trying to be like, listen, I was alive working here before you were even born,
My initial reactions, I just want to say that I think these kinds of episodes are sort of Joe's time to shine, because it is essentially functioning as one giant restaurant, and that's sort of his forte. So these are the episodes where he gets to like do what he does, which is like talk to people, run a restaurant, make sure that like the kitchen is firing dishes for everyone. And it's not like a high bar we have to meet, but he didn't say anything wildly weird or offensive. And so I think good on Joe for this episode.
That is true. He was slightly less grating this episode.
All right, let's go through the episode beat by beat. So there's a cold open. We're driving through downtown LA. We get this little bit with the host playing soccer. Gordon does what he does every time soccer comes up in any of his things, which is tell his story about how he wanted to be a footballer when he was a kid. Actually, in this episode, he called it soccer, which I'm like, Gordon, we all know you don't call it soccer. You're a Brit. But they're doing that bit, and then this is our first field challenge, which I don't think they've ever called it that before. I think they're calling it a field challenge because they're on a field. But the challenge is to cook for 101. I want to say like soccer adjacent people, because a football team doesn't have 100 people on it. So like players, coaches, VIPs. Introduce Larry Friedman, the LAFC co-president, who talks about how they have sophisticated palates because these players are from all over the world. The winning team, safe from elimination. Captain of the winning team gets an advantage next week. Tonight, Anna is safe from elimination, and she gets to decide which generations pair up as an advantage. She doesn't want to go with Gen X because they're down 1 and the millennials are down 1, so 8 on 10 would be bad. She says that, quote, the boomers are great, but in the evening they're getting tired, which to me felt like a very like Sphinx riddle way of saying that they're old. Oh, sorry, let me take that back. But she decides to go with them anyway. So the red team is comprised of the millennial. The blue team is comprised of Gen Z and Gen X. Mert, of course, thinks that Anna made a mistake because Mert has to be contrarian in everything. Iffy, how you feeling about having Mert on your team?
Look,
Causing a ruckus
like
every
I
episode?
said, he's getting that screen time for his big jibs and jabs, generational jabs, as I so called it. So he's doing what I need him to do. Now I need him to just not be bad. That's all I want. That's all I want for you, Mert.
Good
He's
luck with
great
that.
TV.
He is great TV indeed. Yeah. All right. So team captains. These are important because team captains get a point for our competition. And in this case, both of those points go to Sierra. Team captain Anna on the red team, team captain Becca on the blue team. Sierra, what's going through your head when both of these women just straight up volunteer? There's no election process. They go, I want to be. Well, okay. So on blue, I wrote that Arthur did say, I'll also want to be, but that would have been your point anyway, because Arthur's also on your team. But he gets outvoted. Anna and Becca, both our team captains. Sierra, tell me your thoughts.
I was, very excited. I mean, I think I picked both of them. Well, I really picked Becca because I thought she had good leadership qualities too. Like she, came forward being like young, but like very self-aware and again, very telegenic, ready to kind of speak in ways that I think are interesting and articulate well what is going on with her dish and what's going through her head. So I was like, I wanted to hand it to the Gen Xers for elevating somebody who was younger, letting her take the lead there. And she did really well in the last episode. So I wonder if they were also kind of looking at like, okay, well, she actually made a great dish, and Among Us, like that's going to really help. So she seems to know what she's doing, even though she's young. Let's go. Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just agreeing with you. I think that definitely is the case. I think Becca has been, we're starting to really get a clear view of who the stronger chefs are, the stronger cooks are in this. And I think even they know. And so that's just, smart positioning.
Yeah. And I think Anna too, right? Like obviously she won last episode. She got to make the pairings. So I wonder if that helped. But yeah, it's like maybe we didn't really see the full selection process, knowing now that Rebecka actually put herself up too. So I wonder what really went down. But yeah, it was cool to see them both, and I think that it's as we'll see, it turned out to be quite a job and maybe more stress than it was worth. But we'll see.
Yeah. Okay, so that leads me into I think probably the biggest storyline this episode, which is Anna v. Rebecka. Millennial versus boomer. Rebecka thought that Anna had I wrote it, quote, sense of hysteria, and I'm like, oh, that's not a great thing to say about a woman. But they weren't getting along in the kitchen. She was like, these millennials think they know everything. There was the portions thing where Anna was like, you got to cut the fish, and then Rebecka does the thing of like going to mom and dad where she shows the cut fish to Gordon. Gordon's like, why are you cutting the fish? And I was like, that's like right on the line of throwing Anna under the bus. But that, I mean, give me your thoughts on this sort of big millennial divide here.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Rebecka say like, or they showed it in the previews. It was like the millennials think they know everything. There's definitely a lot of already tension, but yeah, I think okay. With the added context, I'm so happy you found her blog. I also will look that up eventually and read all of it, I'm sure. The fact that like she wanted to be the captain, and then Anna gets picked over her, and then she has to kind of be subservient, and then Anna also at least made her sous chef, but so she was kind of trying to maybe bridge a gap there. But then I mean, I guess overall, when I was watching, Anna's on my team, so I think maybe I'm partial, but I kind of was like, yeah, Rebecka seemed like kind of unreasonable and also stubborn, even if the fish is cooked. I didn't take the temperature. Don't even ask me about that, even though, I mean, it's a totally valid question. And it was undercooked. So she was wrong. And it's just sort of that like embarrassing thing of like just digging your heels in and doubling down on being wrong. So that was happening a lot. And you know, I guess I'd be curious to think what you guys like, if you really think that Rebecka was, you know, getting the wrong edit there, or what was really going on.
So I think that there's sort of like two things. It's like both things are true. So what Rebecka said on her blog was that she blamed the raw fish on Anna's communication, because what you see in the episodes is her going like, tell me if you need fish. I need 2 minutes to cook the fish.
Right.
And Anna wasn't saying anything. And then out of nowhere, Anna goes, I need fish now. And so Rebecka admits that she very stubbornly was just like, fine, here's your fish, and kind of put out what she knew to be raw fish, which I think is like, it seems like an error on both of their parts, you know?
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, at this point, and I think the way it started, you start to hit like an ego point, right? There's like a point of this where it's like it's less about, you know, what's actually right, and at this point, you're fighting for your ego, and stuff like that happens once you go into that point. You start doing things out of spite instead of clearly communicating why it might not be ready. But I do think when we're talking about edits, we're seeing the version of like cause and effect, and not the version where maybe someone is like, hey, 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 hey. And then it's like, all right, damn it. Here you go then.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because there was something where when she was like, you know, what, you know, asking if she wanted the fish, do you want the fish? Nothing. And then Anna was like, I want the fish. And then they cut to Rebecka and she was like, what did you say? And it almost seemed like she did hear her, but was pretending she didn't or something. So I don't, but again, that could be an edit thing where it's like, maybe that was from a separate time when she actually didn't know.
Yeah.
And then they were making it seem like she was being petty. So, but yeah, when I saw that, I was like, oh God, this is like not good. There's some real drama happening.
Yeah. The quote I wrote was Rebecka saying Anna's leadership style is proving to be a bit millennial. And I was like, well, hold on. What do you mean by that?
What does that mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Once again, generational jabs.
Generational jabs. Okay, going in order, we got 2 points back to back here. The first one is that we cut to Horacio, Iffy, your number one boomer pick, who A, gets like that Humpty Dumpty music edit that I was talking about last week, and B, cannot remember the word for squash, which, you know what? Language barrier, that's okay. I'm willing to let that one go. But then he says he's never cooked with this before. He's never cooked with squash before. And that is a point on the board for a half a point. Let me double check. Yeah, a half a point for I've never cooked with this before. Iffy, tell me about Horacio.
This is, you know, I feel like I leaned into Mert being maybe the character pick and having so much comedy in the like verses of it all. But you know, when I look at it, you know, it seems like it is in fact going to be Horacio, because he is just a goof, just a full-on goof, and I'm loving what he's doing, and I'm glad I can get a little bit of that pointage from it.
Yeah, I'm getting like Mr. Bean vibes. It's like if Mr. Bean was just on a cooking show.
Yeah. We love a Mr. Bean. He's coming around. He's trying to figure things out. He doesn't know what's going on, but he's having a good time, and somehow still staying out the sights. Like, you know, we're talking about 2 people who somehow are making it Mert more than anything. I'm like, you are somehow getting by the skin of your teeth, not to spoil who doesn't go home, but this man, like, I for 3 episodes I thought it was going to be him.
Yes. Yeah,
thanks for listening, Mert.
Doesn't bode well. Yeah, that's right. Thanks for listening. Doesn't bode well for your long-term prospects, but yeah. Okay, so Iffy, I'm going to ask you for back-to-back commentary here, because the next thing that happens sequentially in this episode is that Chris says back home, I cook steak once a week, which is the I make this all the time, and he does land in the bottom, so that is minus 1 point.
Oh, no.
So Iffy, tell me about Chris.
You know, Chris what is there to say? I didn't even like want to pick him. This is already, so that makes it sting even more, because if this was the Chris that I actually wanted and picked, I'd be like, damn, that sucks. But this is a whole different Chris that wasn't even on my radar, that not only just like, he just truly fumbles in all the ways, just truly killing my streak of barely squeaking by just being this guy who just freaking fumbles. Steak is, I think, tricky, just as a just thing to cook. I had a very long conversation about my rule and how I typically, if I'm at a steakhouse, I'll try and lean towards either dry age, which I don't have the ability to do, or like a different, because I gave myself a test once, because, I get my meat from Kagoshima Farms via
Wow.
Crowd Cow. So that's where I get all my Wagyu, just because it's just the most accessible way to get it. And I was at a steakhouse and they had Kagoshima Farms Wagyu. And I was like, okay, this is the actual like real test I want. I'm going to order it. And if it tastes different than I make it, then I can like concede that like,
Sure.
Going to the steakhouse might be worth doing versus making it myself. And it tasted exactly the same. And it's because steak is a very simple thing, especially Wagyu, because you don't have to do much to it. Wagyu, you just salt, pepper, and then it's really like a minute each side. It's a very easy cook. But I think like steaks in general have that same level of ease, but like it can be tricky based on like the cut and the size. That long preamble was all to say that it's very easy, if you know how to make a good steak, to be overconfident in making a steak, because there are so many different factors that can that can mess it up for you. And I think that's what we're running into here. You got someone who's saying he makes it all the time, he's overconfident, and it wasn't good. Why? Probably because you use the same technique you use on the steak. This probably isn't a steak that you buy all the time. So yeah, you're gonna fumble it and get punted.
Yeah, what I wrote was that it's a filet mignon that they're cooking, and Gordon just shouts out to Chris like, "Don't put a hard sear on it. You don't put a hard sear on a filet." And Chris was like, "Oh, you don't? You do not? Is that what you said? Okay, yeah, okay, cool. You know what I mean?"
The opposite?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, filet mignons are not for the faint of heart, because I mean, you do a New York strip and you can just, reverse sear, and you put that baby on, for about 45 seconds each side, and that shit is ready to go. Filet mignon, it's a very meaty dish, so you
Very
really
low
have to,
fat cut.
yeah, so you really have to like know how you do it. And I didn't even know. And I am pretty confident in my steak making abilities, and didn't even know that about filet mignon. So I knew it was cooked from that point on.
Okay, all right. Let's dive into the 30-minute tasting. The red team presents a pan-seared halibut, lemon couscous, Horacio squash, broccolini, and herb blanc. They say it looks okay, but it's bland. Anna was unsure about where she was going to be. They're like, "Are you helping Rebecka with the fish? Or are you going to be up here plating?" But Rebecka is sure that she can do all of the fish alone, which makes Anna nervous. Made me nervous. I'm like, "You're going to cook 100 pieces of fish by yourself? Okay, Godspeed." Blue team presents a filet mignon with herb polenta, Brussels sprouts, red wine sauce, crispy pancetta, and the filet is raw. It is ice cold. And so, okay, I want to talk a little bit about whose fault it is, because we have Chris and Adam on the filet mignon station. To me, I mean, maybe I interpreted the edit differently than other people. It seems like Adam, who was on my team, was in charge of the steaks, and Chris was there to help. I wrote that Becca said, quote, she's confident in Chris's ability, quote, help Adam. So I'm like, okay, so Chris is number 2 there, Adam's number 1. I feel like the steaks are a little bit Adam's fault. What do you guys think?
I could see that. I feel like he maybe didn't take charge. You know, I could
Yeah.
see him be like, oh, okay, well, I'll do this. And then Chris, and just sort of deferring to Chris, maybe because he's older, or maybe because, he didn't really realize what the role was. So, yeah, maybe I think I didn't really realize that, that he was actually given that first role. So
Yeah.
maybe he didn't either.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we were all synced up on that. Every single one of us.
Yeah. All right. Well, either way, spoiler alert, they both end up on the bottom. Let's see what else. Warren isn't cooking enough sauce for 100 people and needs to move faster. And I think that was left in the edit strictly because he is a baby boomer. And if it were anyone else, they'd be like, yeah, moving faster is not a plot point. But for an old person, they're like, move faster. And he's like,
Yeah.
okay, yes.
All right.
Yeah, he's like, I know I gotta move faster. Yeah, because I love how he knows what they're doing, like, and he leans into it, and it's great every
he
time.
knows the edit that he's getting. And
Yes,
he's like, I'm
yes.
fine with it. I'm old. Got it.
Right.
Okay, Fatima's making delicious polenta, which we'll see later on starts to get bad. Anna's trying to plate, quote, Michelin star food. That's hard to do for 100 people. Okay, the players start arriving, or the players and the coaches and the VIPs start arriving. Immediately, Mert celebrates, and then Gordon goes, Mert, we just started. We'll celebrate when we're done. Focus up. And I thought that was funny.
Yeah,
Look,
every time, Mert.
He's a treat. He's a treat.
Okay, let's see. What else? Okay, so Rebecka serves raw fish. This is such a small thing, but I wrote down that Kamei said thermometer, and I didn't know if it was just like you misspeak when you're speaking fast and you've got a lot of adrenaline going through you, and I'm like, or does she just pronounce thermometer? You check the temperature of the fish. Rebecca's like, no, I did not. Sure enough, they turn out raw. So we put Michael on the fish station with Rebecka. And Michael, that is a Sierra pick. Sierra, how are you feeling about Michael hopping on the fish station?
Yeah, I feel like I haven't seen much of Michael since we started, so I was like happy to see him get a little more to do, and I feel like he is, what we saw, he was good at what he did. So that was cool. And I mean, I'm sure it was like probably a weird position for him to be in. He seems like a really sweet guy, so I feel like getting thrown into the mix of like the Rebecka Anna drama is like kind of comical to see this, like, oh god, everybody's fighting. I don't know. That's just the impression I get of him, that he's just trying to make peace here, be sweet. And yeah.
You bring up a good point that he has not gotten a lot of screen time this far. How do you think that speaks to his long-term viability in this competition?
Not great. I feel like also, I mean, he had a great story, and he like cooked for his mom, who had passed, and dishes she had cooked and things like that. So, I assume that'll come back, and maybe when they have more prompts that are like, cook dishes around family or whatever. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, he is one of those people where when I was watching his audition, it was like, oh, he could be, this is such a good story, and kind of like a full arc for him. Not maybe that's it, but yeah, he just has to Mert it up a little bit more. I think he has to take a chapter out of Mert's book and just be absolutely unhinged.
Look, Mert knows what Mert's doing, and like they said, when you do the Mert, it's gonna work.
Oh God! Don't give him that. He's gonna run with that.
Work.
He's gonna make T-shirts,
and I'm gonna be in the next episode wearing it.
Yeah, nice.
Okay, great. So we're in the thick of service right now. Fatima's polenta starts becoming bland. She needs to keep up the consistency. Anna's obsessing over how every dish looks. A lot of people think she's being sort of perfectionist about it. Gordon comes over and says, it's not about you, with a pair of tweezers. You need to just get the food out. And she has immunity. So Warren expresses what's on everyone's mind, which is that they're all worried because if the red team's on the bottom, she's not the one who's going home. But I will say, I think that Anna sort of feels that responsibility. She is, you can tell at the end of the competition, she's like worried that like her failure in leadership is going to get someone sent home. So I think she's got, she's not oblivious to it. She knows her responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely weighs on her.
Oh yeah, it like it, even when it kind of rolls out the way it does, you can just see that she was just as invested as anyone else, and it wasn't even, it wasn't even like hers to lose.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So moving over to the blue team, this is the highlight of the episode for me. These filet mignons are charcoal, and Gordon holds up to every person on the team and says, "Would you eat that? No. Would you eat that? No. Would you eat that? No." And then he kicks the steak across the field, and that is at the time Chris and Adam on the protein station. That is me and Iffy on the protein station. We each lose a point.
Oh,
Iffy, we kind of talked about it, but how are you feeling about the kick specifically?
I mean, the kick is good, but I don't know why I remembered it as us getting a point if when he punts the protein. I've lost 2 points.
Yes, yeah, we lose
Two
a
whole
point when he
points.
kicks. Yeah, we're both
Yeah,
doing
but
pretty bad in this episode.
I've already lost a point because someone wanted to talk about how great they are at steaks. And then
I mean, it's all Chris. It's all Chris losing these points for you, which
Yeah.
the Chris you didn't even ask for.
Yes, let us. We must continue to remind people. I didn't even want this, Chris.
Oh no.
Well, he's on his way out anyway, so that's not a huge concern for you. Okay, other highlights from the service. The LA Football Club food and beverage general manager didn't get any sauce on his blue team plate, and I was like, that's kind of a big yikes. That's someone who should get sauce on his plate, but whatever. Let's see what else. Oh, some rare steak gets sent back to the kitchen because one player's like, I got a big game this weekend, which I feel like is a pretty coached line. It's a very like producer line to be like, can you talk about the big game coming up and how you couldn't eat raw meat because of that? So a blue team plate gets sent back, and Hallie, or they keep saying Haley, and I'm like, oh, I'm pronouncing it wrong. Haley gets sent to help take over the steaks, and first thing immediately she's like, these pans are way too hot. She does say, I'm from the South, I can cook a steak, which I just want to clarify because some people might confuse this in the rules. The rules have, I'm from blank, we don't have blank. And that is the spirit of that rule, which is to say, it's the same as I don't cook with this a lot. I've never made this dish before. It's talking about inexperience. This is the opposite, where she's like, I'm from the South, I know how to cook a steak. And that's just straight confidence. And I would put this to the group because none of us picked Haley. How are we feeling about her stepping in? Do we feel like we are regretting our decision to not draft her because she seems like a strong cook, or are we like, fine, whatever, let's just move past it?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously have regrets only for one reason. But yeah, otherwise I'm like, yeah, okay.
I kind of, I didn't realize we didn't pick her, but it's also kind of funny saying, I'm from the South, I know how to cook steak, because I think Chris is also from the South. I feel like he's from Alabama, but I'm not positive. So I guess he doesn't know, but she's cool. I'm impressed with the fact that she stepped up, and she is in the Gen Z category, right? So she's like young and can, take charge. I think that's very important. But yeah, I don't know. She was like the one who is the cornhole champ, I believe. So
yes, professional cornhole player.
Happens.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, nice.
All right, so back over on the other team, everyone is now hopping in on the fish. We got Horacio cooking fish. We got Geeks cooking fish. I'm like, neither of those men I trust to cook my fish.
Oh no.
Yeah, I right now, Geeks is another one sliding by, and I can just look at him and wonder when he's gonna fall because no one has him.
Geeks.
Yeah. Let's see. Blue team falls behind, so Gordon is like, I'm not waiting for you. We're sending out some red plates, and it turns out that at the end of the competition, the blue team has 12 people they didn't serve. Red team only has 6 people they didn't serve. I mean, not great that both of them didn't serve 101 people, but the blue team doubled the amount of people that they did not get to serve. And Gordon gets on them for serving bland polenta and raw steaks, and gets on the red team for starting strong, but then turning out raw halibut. And so people are voting by kicking Velcro balls into the correct goal, which this is one of the small joys that I have of all of these weird field competitions, is the voting system, it is always something hokey like this. It's like, okay, if you're a firefighter, you got to like ring the firefighter's bell for the team that you want or whatever. And I thought that Velcro soccer ball was incredibly funny.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we don't need to comment on it. Sorry, there's a little bit of a delay. So I was like, okay, there's nothing to say. All right, here we go. Postmortems. Kamei says to Anna, do you have anything you want to say? And Anna says, not right now. We've got Jeet calming down Anna. And I'll also say that I feel like the trio of Anna, Jeet, Kamei, I was like, that's really nice. When the big announcement is made, they're all hugging each other. I'm like, give all three of them a spinoff show. I want to see this show.
Oh yeah, they're all stars. I like that they, work together and were able to kind of bring their own different quirks to it. Kamei in particular was a star throughout the episode, as she tends to be. But yeah, that was cute.
I know. It is truly the straight up, like, just proof every step of the way. Kamei is ready. It's time.
She is ready. Someone out there snatch her up for a television contract or something. All right. They say, all right, we're gonna announce the winner with this sponsored drone show. And I gotta know what you guys think of the drone show.
I like totally, I did not see that coming at all. I thought that was very cool, honestly, because the drone shows, I feel like they're reserved for, like Chinese firework, just, displays and events or like Olympics. So I'm like, okay, let's bring it out for like MasterChef random episode, but very exciting.
Oh, this definitely felt like because this for sure was an episode that was promoting, LA Football Club, getting people to want to go. And I know they're like, and we got to show them that we got the cool drone shows here too.
Yeah.
We gotta go. And what's like, they are pretty fast, but I do like to imagine that they were standing out there for a while, just trying to wait for it to reform.
Silly.
Have either of you guys ever been to an LAFC game? I've never been. I've always wanted to go. And the drone kind of got me. I was like, yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah, I've thought about it. Yeah, I've never been either. I've been to that stadium for like concerts and stuff, which it's a great, it's a cool venue for that. But yeah, I feel like, maybe the drone show's a thing to put me over the edge to like make it over there for a real soccer game.
Yeah.
Who did you see in concert at BMO Stadium?
Oh, I saw both what was I saw oh god, why can't I think of anything right now? Turnstile.
You're on the spot.
With
sick.
Yeah, and then like I think
Was that when
Fallout Boy,
Fallout Boy,
and Blink-182.
Okay,
yeah, and Blink-182.
Yeah,
that was the main event. It's all very, like, I think I saw these also kind of back to back. So it was like the BMO Stadium, formerly the Bank of California, was quite my home for like a 2-week back-to-back thing like a few years ago.
Nice. Cool. All right. Well, so the drone show announces that the red team wins. That is the Millennials and the Boomers, which means that Anna gets the advantage next week because she was the team captain. But we should talk about this point here. Currently, the way that I have this scored, and I can change this, is that nobody gets the point for winning the challenge because they didn't specify a winner. But we could also do it that either Anna gets the point, which would put Sierra even more ahead than she already is, or every member of both of those generations gets a point, which I am also happy to do. Or we leave it at no one gets a point. What are you guys thinking?
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of was wondering about this too, because I'm like, I get that if Anna just gets the point, it's sort of like it's sort of only because she was captain, which already got a point. And that isn't necessarily the reason they won, right? Though, important. But so maybe I would lean toward everybody, but maybe that's like actually dooming me. I haven't done the math, so
Yeah, no, let's do everybody. If it's dooming you, I'm team everybody. You got enough points.
Okay.
I lost 2 points.
Okay. I will do that scoring in just a second.
Yeah.
Everyone
Yeah.
on the millennials and the boomers gets a point. Okay. Let's see. There are no closer looks, obviously, because it's a team challenge. And on the bottom, we have Chris, Adam, and Becca. Becca for being team captain, who looks like she's gonna cry, and I feel so bad. But that's my bias because she looks like she's 12 years old, and I'm like,
yeah, she looks
put
like
that
a baby.
little girl on
Don't
the
make the
stand.
baby cry.
Yeah.
And then also when Anna won, she like fell to her knees. It was like so intense.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I said she really gave it her all, even though she was safe.
Yeah. All right. So those three are on the bottom. Chris is the one who gets eliminated. And I'd say it's just minorly insofar as if you got both Chris and Adam on the meat station and you're going to send one of them home for raw steaks, you got to really tell me why it was one of them and not the other. But everyone looks genuinely sad. The second Gen Xer to go home. And we get a preview of next week, which is birthday cake. Okay. Any final thoughts before we do our points breakdown?
Yes, I thought of something when we were talking about Mert's t-shirts that he could probably call them merch. Spelled M-U-R-T-C-H. Anyway, that's yours, Mert.
I hate that I didn't think of that. That's perfect.
I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. All right.
Okay, so I'm gonna do some live scoring right now.
Yeah.
And give all the millennials and boomers
throw a wrench into
one winner point.
Nice.
No. What I should have done was prepared 2 sets of scoring, one with and one without. All the boomers get one. That's one for Warren, one for Rebecca, one for Horacio. And one for Christopher. That's the boomers. And one for each of the millennials. That's one for Kamei. Another one for Anna. One for Michael and one for Jeet. Okay. This is so stupid.
It just skyrockets our points.
Yeah, it really does.
Should we adjust to like 0.5 or something?
Nope. The winner gets 1 point, and that's what we decided. Okay. And now let me input
this episode
these
decides
new scores.
the fate.
Yeah.
It really does. I do not see a way to come back from this for two of us.
Oh my gosh.
Sierra. Okay.
No.
Oh boy. Okay, so here's our points breakdown. As a reminder, you can find our scoring rules on our Instagram at TV Chef Fantasy League. This week, there were no closer look dishes. The team captains were Anna and Rebecca. That is 1 point apiece. Gordon threw a protein, or in this case, kicked it. That is -1 point for the 2 cooks on the protein station. That was Chris and Adam. Horacio gets a half point for saying he's never cooked with something before. Chris loses a point for saying, I make this all the time, and landing on the bottom. And the winner was all of the red team, the millennials and the boomers. So each member of that team gets 1 point. So at the end of this episode, Iffy, you gain a half of a point.
Oh my God. Are you
at the end of this?
What happened?
Okay, at the end of this episode, I gain 1 point.
Oh no.
And Sierra, at the end of this episode, you gain 6 points.
Oh, shit.
Okay. Look, I think we can come back. We can come back.
You think we can come back from Sierra getting 6 points in 1 episode?
Yeah, I do. I think Mert's about to have a big app soon.
Fair.
The Mert storm's coming. The Mert storm's coming.
Okay, so what?
Mert alert.
Mert alert.
Oh, that does remind me. Becca did say in the middle of the episode they don't want to learn about the Becca storm or something. This is a lot of people like using their first name and the word storm.
Because it works.
It works. Yeah, Sierra, I'm looking at your lineup here. What did it for you? So you have 2 millennials and 2 boomers, and also the one Gen Z person you had was a team captain. So you really just made out like a band.
Yeah, yeah.
How are you feeling gaining 6 points?
I mean, it's good. It's good stuff, I guess. Yeah, I didn't expect this, but I am glad. I guess I advocated for all the team to get points because it ended up working
Yeah,
out.
yeah. Very devious of you. So
Uh-huh.
currently in the season, here's our leaderboard. In last place with 1 point, iffy, one point, dead
Uh-huh.
last. How you feeling?
I feel like, if it was any other show, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm boned. But the nature and how wild this show is,
Mm-hmm.
I actually still think I have a chance.
I love that confidence from you. I am in the middle with 4 points, and in the lead with 8.5 points is Sierra. This is really shaping up to be another Top Chef season. The exact same shape.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I kind of see what you're saying, Iffy, because it is like, because even looking over the scoring, like I kind of have to refresh my memory of how we are scoring all the time, because it's like, oh yeah, this is kind of like a counterintuitive. There's like some wild cards that can happen, that it's not necessarily just about having the best chefs and everything. So
Yeah.
so yeah, I feel like it is a little, yeah, it's going to be a different general like graph in this type of show. So who knows? We'll see.
We shall see. Folks, if you like our show, once again, you can head to MaximumFun.org/join to support us directly. You can also give us a rate and a review in your podcast listening app of choice. That stuff all really helps us out. If you have any thoughts or suggestions, drop us a line on Instagram at TV Chef Fantasy League, or once again, you can send us an email at chef@MaximumFun.org. If you're doing your own MasterChef Fantasy League, please tag us. We love seeing your teams and your weird team names. They're the best. For full unedited episodes, you can check us out on YouTube. Thanks again to my co-hosts Sierra Kato and Iffy Wadiwe. We will be back next week. TV Chef Fantasy League is a Maximum Fun production. Our producer is Valerie Moffat. Our theme song is by Dylan Van Auken. Follow us on Instagram and YouTube at TV Chef Fantasy League.